Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bourbon Note. I'm Greg.
I'm Ben.
And today, we're drinking bourbon. All right, Ben, I've heard of this bourbon. They've seen the thumbnail, but I know nothing about it. So
Bring it on in.
tell us what we're doing here.
We've got BAM, Blade and Bow.
All right, Ben, I'm guessing you discovered the key to good bourbon.
Yeah. All right. Any more of those that you need to get out of your system before we get into this?
Well, I have one more observation, but I'll wait until you tell us what we're drinking.
Okay, so this is Blade and Bow.
Okay.
I've had a pour of this once a very long time ago, so this is essentially a new bourbon to me. You've never had this, correct?
I've never even seen it on the shelf. I've heard of it, seen it on Instagram, that kind of thing, but I don't know if is it a Minnesota available thing?
It just came to Minnesota finally.
Well,
It's
that
been
explains
around
it.
for a while, but it just finally made its way to Minnesota.
Okay.
So, Stitzel-Weller. I don't know who's doing this now, but it originally comes from the Stitzel-Weller distillery, and I guess the story is, I think after they closed, like Bullet Bourbon bought something. There's so many stories of like the interconnection of all these different distilleries.
I try to stay out of
it's like,
those stories.
Weller is with Buffalo Trace, but then Stitzel-Weller, and then Bullet, but Bullet's sourced, and it's just clear as mud. So I wish when you went on a bourbon's website, instead of just telling you the story behind it, and I'll get to that with the key here, just tell us directly about the whiskey, as much as you're comfortable giving up. But the idea is, so this is a Solera-aged bourbon.
Oh, wow.
Presumably wheated.
Okay.
Weller. And within the Solera process, some of the old, original, like I think 1992 casks of Stitzel-Weller juice are infused with, now how much of that is, who knows?
So super quick, Solera cask means that there's different layers, rows in the rickhouse.
Yep.
And there's like essentially a pipe connecting the top barrel to the one below it. And the bourbon kind of flows from barrel to barrel to barrel to barrel.
Exactly, yeah.
And eventually it gets to the bottom. It's been in there quite a while. And then they take it out and put it in the bottle and sell it.
Yep, and that's the best way to describe it. And who knows if it actually, maybe they just take from a barrel and then manually refill or whatever. So anyway, so that's the Stitzel-Weller connection. The key is there's 5 keys, and you can collect them. I don't know. I think it's this is number 5. So they're leaning into that.
Little horse with a letter kind of thing. Yeah.
And there's 5 keys originally hanging on the door of the Stitzel-Weller distillery that represented the 5 stages of distilling, or not distilling, but just producing bourbon.
Okay.
So anyway, history lesson aside, let's get into this and see if we like it. I remember, not disliking it.
Had one other Solera aged. And that was also an interesting one that came across both as kind of youthful and well-aged, because we think it's younger, but all of the different oak influence kind of was noticeable.
This has a little bit of youth on the nose. Not a grainy youth, but maybe it's a little
caramel at this point, nothing all. Nothing super unique, but I mean, that's not a bad thing either.
I was just going to say basic bourbon notes.
Yeah.
This could just be the connection that I'm picturing in my head, but it's reminding me a little bit of Special Reserve, Weller Special Reserve. Just that kind of basic,
I don't know. Like, I don't want to miss guess, so I'm playing around with the theory of...
there is some nice barrel spice, though. There's a little bit of spice on the nose here.
I think so. All right, I'm going to go for it.
All right, cheers.
Boy, that hit weird, but got better.
Huh. It did have like a little bit of a weird
I thought it was going to go way weird, and then it kind of brought itself back.
It's so weird how you can like take a sip of something and the roller coaster that can happen in like 3 seconds.
Exactly.
I'm going to get in for another one here.
Yeah.
Not bad. I don't notice anything offensive about it.
Second sip's much more normal.
So it's got a nice bite to it for 91 proof.
It does.
Which I don't know if we established 91 proof. About $50
Okay.
for stats.
Okay. Good toffee notes. Like it's starting to turn nice.
Yeah.
Like surprisingly sharp burn on the finish. And I know that may sound negative. It's actually nice it works well. The burn works well with the flavors.
Yeah. I've heard mixed thoughts on this, mixed reviews on this.
Okay.
It's fairly, can you do just as well for cheaper? Yeah, of course you can. But I think it has some nice flavors. It's fairly basic. You know, it's kind of a down the middle bourbon. I've heard rumors that this is possibly a 4-grain, but I would assume it's at least has wheat, whether it's just a wheated bourbon or a 4-grain. But it kind of comes across as, it really is kind of reminding me a bit of Special Reserve, and I think that could just be power of suggestion in my mind.
It's curious. I'm starting to get more like complexity. It took a couple sips, but the toasted almond kind of.
Yeah.
Looking at the color in the bottle, it looks youngish, 3 to 4 years kind of thing. But it really, in my mind, drinks like a 6-year bourbon or so. Like,
Yeah, I'm sure I
there's
can.
some real character and like characteristics of more well-aged and complex flavors.
There's something interesting about the mouthfeel. It feels like it's trying to have some nice viscosity.
Yep.
And there's just a little too much water in the proofing down that kind of cuts that down. Now, for 91 proof, it's got good flavor to it. It's a little thin, kind of overall. But I feel like at a higher proof, aside from what we normally would look for, how we normally would like it at a higher proof, I think the viscosity would really come out of this nice.
So I feel the viscosity is almost there, meaning it's not watered down too much and ruined. It just, if they had sold it at 95 proof, it could actually be awesome.
You were going to say freaking amazing.
I pulled back the reins because
I'm going to take you saying it from a different video and just edit it over.
No, I'm not quite sure. I'm not willing to throw the freaking amazing on it yet. I would like to try more of their products.
Saying it could be.
I'm guessing it could be, but I'm not prepared to make that statement until I try it at a little bit higher proof. Or one of their different keys. I noticed that the shape of the bottle is really weird, and they have, like here, they have 3 keys, and there's some information.
Well, there's 1, 2.
So it's all the way around.
Yep.
So I want to read all that and get some details about it. I would love to pick up another bottle and see something slightly different, like their different flavor profiles or what they're doing.
So they have 2 expressions. They have this one, which is non-age statement, and they have a 22-year. Which is like a unicorn bottle. Which,
Seriously?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's kind of like IW Harper. They have like the basic one, and then they have a 15.
A 15-year, yeah. Huh.
So yeah, I mean, is it a recommend at $50? I was toying around with the idea of like how we always say it's like, can you do better for the price? Yes, you can. But if you're a bourbon enthusiast, that's not really what it's about.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Otherwise, you can just keep buying Wild Turkey 101
Exactly.
and then just never explore anything different. Yeah.
But if you're watching bourbon reviews on YouTube, you know, if you have a little bit of a collection, I think you may find stuff. You know, this may be it, this may not.
Yeah.
But I think people are kind of looking at, exploring other options.
Yep. And at this point, I'm not buying bourbon to try to find the best bang for the buck. I think we've already established a lot of those.
We've found a baseline, and it's not one. There's a handful of brands and bottles that are freaking amazing.
Yeah.
But now we're trying other things, and sometimes I think this actually qualifies as something interesting that I continue to want to look for.
Yeah, sure. So I mean, I would say if you're into bourbon collecting, it's kind of it's not terribly unique, but I would say if you think the bottle's cool and you want to have this on your shelf, it might be a cool one to break out with people that are maybe just getting into bourbon, or maybe not even into bourbon, and you want to just bust out a bottle that looks cool, but the juice inside is good, and it may cater a little more to somebody. Like the 91 proof is not too high. It's not a punch in the face. And it's got definitely better flavors than the premium high-priced 86, 80 proof ones that we've done recently.
I would agree.
So this, I think it kind of has its area right there. So then I would say if you're a bourbon enthusiast and you've never tried this, It's as good as anything else to spend $50 on and may or may not be super impressed by it, but you're not going to dislike it, I don't think.
Not if you like bourbon in general.
Yep, absolutely. There's nothing offensive about
With
it.
a nice oak burn. I think that's the most prominent feature or note.
Yeah, it does have a peppery, like oak and pepper
Yeah.
on the back end of it. So, yeah, not bad. All right, well, this has been Blade and Bow on the Bourbon Note. I'm Ben.
I'm Greg. Till next time. See you next time.